Hello everyone, how are you? My name is Gizem. We'll be having our speaking workshop together, IELTS Speaking Workshop. I see some familiar names. Hello, welcome back. And I see some new people. Welcome. So I will first share my screen with you and check if everything is okay. Hi Abby, welcome back. So I think you can see my screen. And let me make it full screen and see if we can see it. You can't see it on full screen right now, right? Can you? Can you see my screen on the full screen? Yes? So when I change my screen, can you see the tongue twister right now? All right, so you can see the tongue twister. All right, so as you know, we start our class with a tongue. No, you cannot see the tongue twister. So I don't think you'll be able to see it on full screen. Sometimes it does this, I don't know why, but yeah, we'll have to do it like this then. All right, so we'll do it not in full screen. I'm sorry for that. So we'll start our class with a tongue twister. And what does this do? This basically helps you be able to pronounce things more clearly, because as you can see on the screen, there are a lot of, for example, B's in this sentence, and we want to pronounce it. We want to be able to read it clearly, and this will help with our speaking abilities. What we will do, I will first read this tongue twister to you, and I will ask of you to read it aloud. You can either unmute yourself or request permission, raise your hand, and I will give you permission to speak. And then you can unmute yourself and speak. Because this is the speaking workshop, it's really advisable for you to try to participate by speaking. That would be really helpful for your speaking exam. So let's start with our tongue twister. So a big bug bit the little beetle, but the little beetle bit the big bug back. Who wants to try reading this out loud first? You can raise your hand. And you can also use the chat box to ask for permission to speak. I will grant them to you. I see Abby's results. Really good. So a little bit working on the writing, I guess. Who wants to try reading this first? Should I read it again? A big bug bit the little beetle, but the little beetle bit the big bug back. All right, Miriam, go ahead. Thank you.
Big bug bit the little beetle, but the little beetle bit the big bug back.
Thank you. That was really, really good and perfect. Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. A big bug bit the little beetle, but the little beetle bit the big bug back.
Thank you. Really, really good. Bhagya, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, go ahead.
A big bug bit the little beetle, but the little beetle bit the big bug back.
Thank you so much. That was really good. Yes, Dave, go ahead.
A big bug beat the little beetle, but the little beetle beat the big bug back.
Thank you. Really, really good. Thank you all. Does anyone else want to try? Yes, Dapsy? Is that correct? Dapsy? Go ahead, you can speak. Dapsy, is that correct? You can speak. Let me ask you to speak. I cannot hear you if you're speaking. So I'll move on to Perry, who also raised their hand. And then, Dapsy, when you're ready, you can unmute yourself and speak. Perry, go ahead.
Yes, hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Let me start first. A big bug bit the little beetle, but the little beetle bit the big bug back.
Thank you. That's a bit hard, right?
Yeah. So,
This is your second time joining our class, right?
what did you say?
Yeah.
Did you say anything, miss?
Uh, I said this is your third or second time joining, right?
Yes.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Farzin, go ahead. Zafar, Farzin Zafar. Can you hear me? You can speak. You raise your hand. Let me ask you to speak. Farzin. All right, let me come back to you then. When you're ready, you can raise your hand again. All right, you heard me. If you're speaking, I cannot hear you. I'm sorry. You can't see the screen? Uh, can you see the screen, guys? Yes? All right, Farzin, maybe there's something with your connection. I'm not sure. Yeah? Can you hear me, Farzin? Maybe there's something wrong with your internet connection because I cannot hear you if you're speaking. But since most of you can see the screen, I will continue. And Farzin, maybe you can log back in, and I will let you. I will let you in, and maybe then it works out. I hope. And Dapti, I saw you couldn't unmute yourself. For that, you can again come back and allow your microphone and camera. Then you will be able to unmute. So you have to allow the when it requests permission for the microphone, and then you will be able to speak. All right, let's move on then while our friends are coming back. So today we will talk about some tips and strategies regarding the speaking in IELTS. Then we will have some vocabulary exercise and we will have some discussion questions. As some of you know, we will have the exact same thing they do in IELTS. And then I will give you some feedback on your speaking. So it's really important, especially in the discussion part, for you to participate because I will give you actual band scores that I think you will get in IELTS. And yeah, that will help you. So let's start with the objectives. In this lesson, you will learn to talk about your experiences with buildings, a building related experience, and your thoughts about the buildings, which is a popular topic in IELTS, I must say. So let's start with our tips and strategies. First of all, understanding the question and giving a relevant response is really important in IELTS speaking because you will not be able to see the questions while the examiner is asking you them. So really try to experience with understanding the question without actually seeing the question first. That will help you a lot with your speaking actually. And while answering any question in IELTS, even if it's a really simple question like, do you like this or that, be specific. Your answer should be detailed, really specific. You need to give examples and explanations. You need to talk about around 20 to 40 seconds for each question and 2 minutes for one particular part. And while speaking, remember that it's okay to make mistakes. You will make some mistakes. Don't worry about them. Just try to correct your mistake quickly if you can. But if you cannot correct your mistake quickly, just move on and keep on speaking and don't worry about it. 1 or 2 mistakes will not affect your score that much. So just forget your mistakes if you make any of them. And lastly, it's really important to be confident and smile. Looking confident is the first thing when we're dealing with IELTS speaking because when you look confident, you will sound confident. And when you sound confident, it will feel like your English is really good. And when you smile, it will create like this positive environment, which the examiner will appreciate, actually. All right, let's start with our vocabulary section. But before that, does anyone have any questions? If you have any questions, you can ask them right now, and I will give you permission to speak. All right, if not, let's match these words with their definition. So our first word today is to preserve. What do you think to preserve means? And you can see the definitions on the right side, the act of keeping something or the history, traditions. What do you think to preserve something means? Yes, it's G. So it's to keep something in its original state and in good condition. So when we preserve something, we make sure that it's in good shape and it's in original shape, and we try to kind of protect it. This is what preserve means. What do you think story is, the second one? And don't confuse this with story without the E, which means something that we tell. Yes, a story is a level of a building or a floor. Story is D, a level of building or a floor. And what is landmark? It's a noun. Yes, it's a building or a place that is very important because of its history or that should be preserved. So landmark is something really, really important because of its history, basically. What about monument? Sorry, maintenance. 4. Yes, maintenance is A. So it's the act of keeping something in good condition by checking it or repairing it regularly. So we maintain it, which is the verb form of this word. What about a monument? A monument. It's not really B. Yes, a monument is a building, column, statue, etc., built to remind people of a famous person or an event. So basically, there's for example, a monument of Atatürk in Turkey a lot because he's the founder of that country. What about stunning? Stunning is an adjective. So it means, yes, extremely attractive or impressive, F. So when something is really, really attractive to us, we can say it's stunning. What about heritage? Heritage. I think this is a really popular word lately because it's come to attention of many people because it's considered really important. And it is, yes, the history, traditions, buildings, and objects that a country or society has had for many years and considered an important part of its character. When this is something like that, we say it's a heritage. What about eyesore? And it's the last one. Yes, it's age. Eyesore basically is a building, object, or something else that is unpleasant to look at. So we don't really like how it looks. When we don't like how something looks, we can say it's an eyesore or it's a sore to the eye. All right, now, do you have any questions with any of these words and their meanings? And if you didn't know any of these words before, I would highly advise you to take notes of those that you don't know and try to use them in our discussions later on. This is how you really actually learn words and how to use them, and that will actually contribute to your speaking a lot because you will be able to talk about something using different words, which really helps you with your score basically. All right, let's try a filling the blanks exercise. So in this part, we will use the words that we have just learned and use them in our sentences, basically. So the first sentence says, the committee will suggest ways to something historically important buildings. Now, you can either raise your hand and read this sentence, which is again good for your pronunciation, or you can write your answer in the chat box. Does anyone want to read? Try to read. All right, Bhagya, go ahead.
Hello. The committee will suggest ways to historically important buildings.
All right. What did you fill in that blank? What did you put there?
Preserve.
Preserve. Yes, great. That's correct. Thank you. By the way, there's a question in the chat box. Can you try to put the PowerPoint on full screen? I tried that multiple times. Now I did that in full screen. Can you see it on full screen? I don't know why, but it doesn't work. Let me try it like this. Can you see it on full screen right now? No? Not really? All right. One more time, one last time. It's on full screen right now too. I don't think you can see it now. All right, I'm so sorry. I don't know why it's like this, but I have to continue like this. I'm so sorry. Maybe I can zoom in, then you can see better. Is that better? Sorry. Is it better right now? All right, yes. Perfect. Now, let's move on to the second sentence, which is old houses need a lot of something. Who wants to try? Yes, Fairy, go ahead. Fairy, I cannot hear you.
Yes.
Right.
Old houses need a lot of maintenance.
Yes, really good. Thank you. That's the correct answer. What about the third one? Yes, Dave, go ahead.
They don't like the new library building. They think it's an eyesore.
Yes, thank you. So they don't think it looks nice. That's correct. What about the fourth one? Who wants to try? Yes, it's heritage. Does anyone want to try reading it? Yes, Miriam, go ahead.
These monuments are a vital part of the culture, a heritage of South America.
Yes, thank you. Really good. What about the fifth? In the square stands a something to all the people killed in the war. Let me see the chat box. So the first one, who wants to try? Yes, it's a monument. In the square stands a monument to all the people killed in the war. So these monuments, so that monument, is built to remind people of those people killed in the war. So it's a monument, yes. What about the sixth one? You can see a stunning view, yes, over the Bay of St. Tropez. And the next one, I live in a three-story house, yes. I live in a three-story house. And the last one, the Rock of Gibraltar, is one of Europe's most famous, what? Landmark, yes, definitely. So it's really important for that culture. Yes, let's move on to our discussion. So today we will talk about, as you can see, buildings. And our first question for today is, do you live in a house or an apartment? And I want to remind you, this is the first part that you will come across in IELTS speaking exam. And in this part, the examiner will ask you questions like these, like personal questions about your likes, dislikes, where you live, your family life, your friends, and stuff like that. And they will expect you to talk for 20 to 40 seconds for each question. And you need to, again, I want to remind you, answer in detail. So when they say, do you live in a house or an apartment? You shouldn't just say, yes, I live in a house and be done with it. You need to kind of give more details. So who you live with, where that house is, or stuff like that. Basically, anything that comes to your mind regarding where you live. Who wants to try to answer this question first? And I want to again remind you that I will be grading your answers, so you can expect to kind of get more or less the same results in IELTS, because this is a practice test. Let's think it like that. Yes, Fairy, go ahead.
Uh, uh, Currently, I'm living in a house, but I used to live in an apartment. But it's a triple story. My house is a triple story a house, which has several rooms. I think seven around on 4 to 5 washrooms in whole building, and it's surrounded by hilly area. Its location is very good, and actually I feel the breeze come from the north, so it's very beneficial for me to live here because this is the house located in very calm area.
Thank you. That was a really good answer. Yes, Miriam, go ahead.
I live in an apartment in a six flat buildings. My apartment is one bedroom. Some people say this is the apartment might seem small, but in my opinion, the living room is very big. Um, we uh, we have my three sisters' bed in the same living room, and there's still many free space that you can walk.
Mhm.
I actually have a house in my home country. In the vacation, when we go to Egypt, we usually stay in that house.
All right, thank you so much. Really good detailed answer. Who else? Yes, Dave, go ahead.
Yes, I live in an apartment. My apartment is housed in a five-story building, and it is located in Divanchero, close to Guides College, which is a landmark college in Divanchero. Inside my apartment, it has a very good view, and when you step outside, the view is aesthetic. My apartment is well aerated, and one advantage of being in this apartment is that it's close to the train station, so it's easy for you to connect other places. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Really good answer. Who wants to go next? Or does anyone want to go next? Yes, Bhagya, go ahead.
I live in a house which consists of three different rooms and a TV area and a room where we worship a goddess, and we have some play area where we used to sit and chit chat with my friends and family members, everyone. And my house is near to a village which is very famous for its aesthetic values, and also near to beach where we can sit calm and have some peace.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really good. Yes, Japal, go ahead.
I live in a two-bedroom house, which is in a apartment, and it's a six-story building. I live on fourth floor. My house is quite spacious. I There is a kitchen and a TV space area, TV room, and I live with my wife and son in this house for quite some time. The colony is the apartment is located in a colony called Metropolis City in northern area of our city. It is very much near to the market, and I find it a quite a good place to live in. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Really good, really detailed. Yes, Farzine, go ahead.
Hi, ma'am. Um,
Hi.
I'm not living right now because in a house because for due to some study purposes, I'm living in a hostel. And when I was searched for a hostel, this hostel is very good because it has some advantages as it is near to the market, to the metro station, and also near to my university. So I'm very satisfied with this hostel. That's all.
All right, thank you so much. A little bit short, but still good because it's around 20 seconds. Yes, Abby, go ahead. Abby, can you hear me? So I'll try. So yes, you can go ahead, Abby. You raised your hand. Oh, you couldn't unmute. All right, so maybe you can come back. I'll give you permission to again join the class. Maybe you can unmute yourself then. Yeah. All right, Depti, go ahead. Oh, is there a problem with unmuting yourself again, Depti? Yes. All right. Did you try allowing the microphone when you first come in the class?
Yeah, ma'am.
Oh, all
Is it
right.
audible?
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
You can speak, but before that, Depti, maybe you can try to log back in again and allowing the microphone. I think that should work. All right, Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. So I live in a two-story building, which is quite like spacious for me, but for my family, they feel always very congested to being here. So yeah, in my house there is only three room, which is separated for like one is separated for a guest room, and other one is for kitchen, and third one is for my like specifically my room. My parents live in like my parents stay in guest room only. So we had a small worship place as well in the corner of the kitchen. So it is quite right away to the India border, which I feel very amazing about it because like I'm very blessed to like born and brought up here because I feel a diverse people around the world from around the world.
All right, thank you so much. Really good and detailed. Yes, Depti, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So I live in a house and it's a small place, which is like very cozy and it makes me feel calm and comfortable. So it's basically almost in the center of the city, and so it's very convenient to visit all the places and to go to my university and go to markets. Also, we have a garden outside my home, which is, I feel, the best part of my house. And I used to walk there in the morning. And I love gardening too. So I guess that is something which I feel is the best part.
All right, thank you so much. Really good. Uh, has everyone answered this question? I think so. Yes. So let's move on to our second question. Let's move on. Yeah. All right. So the next question is: are there any monuments or landmarks in your hometown? Do you know any monuments or landmarks that you can talk about? Yes, Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. Definitely. For this time, I'll say about the birthplace of Buddha, which is already depicted in this in our screen as well. Like my hometown is just 20 kilometer away from the that Gautam Buddha landmark, which is known as Lumbini. So it is very famous in like worldwide actually. So as we all know, like Gautam Buddha is just he shows he depict the symbol of Buddhism. So this is the very like famous and yeah monument landmark thing for us.
All right, thank you so much. Anyone else? Who wants to go next? Yes, Fairy, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me, Miss?
Yes, yes, we can.
Actually, my house is not near any landmark, but there's a sign and there's a big steel mill near my area. So it's also known by the steel mill area. There's a big steel mill near my home. So I think that's recognized. My area is really recognized by the factory as well. So that's why I can say it little bit like a landmark.
All right, thank you so much. So
Okay.
I think that was a really good example of an answer when you cannot find anything to say. So basically, sometimes we use us, right? Because we don't basically have that thing. So when we have something like that, usually, um, we need to kind of come up with an answer and use it. Use it that.
Okay. Okay.
Miriam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There is one landmark that is near my hometown, which is Burj Khalifa. It is one of the tallest skyscrapers in the world. It is actually the tallest one right now. It is in Dubai, which is near where I live, and I actually visited it once. It was super tall. I don't know how long it is, but it was huge. I also heard that there's also going to be another skyscraper going to be built near where I live, and it's going to be taller than the Burj Khalifa.
All right, thank you so much. Anyone else? Yes, Farzine, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. There is a very famous monument near me, that is Pakistan Monument, and it is our national monument and also has a heritage museum, and it is located near the I think Shakarpadiya Hills in Islamabad. And this monument was constructed to represent or symbolize the peoples who work for us, work better. To make better for today and our future also. That's all, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, the monument in my hometown is called the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty is located in New York in the United States and is a very gigantic statue. What is significant about this statue? This statue portrays the very value which is cherished by modern civilization, which is freedom. When you visit the Statue of Liberty, it gives you that hope that you have your freedom, freedom to life, freedom of speech, freedom to move and live wherever you want. So it rekindles this hope in you, and that is why I think this statue is very, very significant.
All right, thank you so much. Really good. Yes, Bhagya, go ahead.
There is a very famous landmark which was near to my hometown. It's 20 minutes near to my home, and it is the famous Satyanarayana Swami temple, where most of the people will come and worship there from different cities. And the best part from that temple was the prasada they give after the worshipping. And most of the people will come to the temple only to have that prasada instead of worship. Uh, and in order to make ease of the transportation, they have kept so many buses available to reach the temple.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Yes, Japal, go ahead.
There are no monuments, in fact, in my hometown, but of course there are landmarks. And the most important one is an Air Force station, which is very near to my home. It's a strategic point from defense point of view. I live in a city near the border, and it's a strategic defense point uh, near to my house, that Air Force station. And the city is quite well known for its military operations, and this very Air Force station. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you so much. Yes, Depti, go ahead.
Yes, there is a clock tower, which is a very famous landmark of my hometown, and it's located near the old railway station. It was one of the most important landmark in the earlier times, as at that time people used to see time and direction from that tower. And in fact, now also all the area around that tower is renowned by the name of that specific tower.
All right, thank you. Who else? Anyone else? All right. So if there's no one else that wants to answer this question, I want to make two tips. I want to give two tips to you. So the first one is try to, as much as you can, answer the question. So what I mean by that is, even if you have no monuments or landmarks in your hometown, state that first. So say that first. Say that there are no monuments or landmarks in your hometown. Uh, of course, you can change the words. You don't have to just like repeat the question. In fact, don't repeat the question. But try to answer that question first and then give your answer. So this will show the examiner that you understood the question correctly. You just don't have a relevant response because you don't have that, basically, if that's clear. And the second tip that I will give you is not to repeat the question. I included it in my first tip, but still, if you can paraphrase the question, do it as best as you can. So, for example, the first question asked us where we lived, right? And we could say reside in instead of live, for example. Or we could include other things like anything else. Whatever comes to your mind, just try to paraphrase the question instead of repeating it. So, in general, in summary, uh, try to answer the question first, even if you don't agree with the question, and then give your response without directly repeating the question. Instead, paraphrase it, basically. Does anyone else wants to answer this question, or should I move on to next slide? All right. I don't think anyone else wants to answer this question. So let's move on to our discussion. So this is the second part of IELTS speaking exam. In this part, the examiner will give you a cue card, question card, topic card. There are a lot of words for that. And when you get this card, you will also get a paper and a pen where you can take notes. So you will be given 1 minute to prepare your answer and 2 minutes to speak. But you don't have to use those full 2 minutes. You can also just speak for maybe 1.5 minutes, and then you can also get a really good grade. But I advise you to not speak less than 1.5 minutes. Try to exceed that 1.5 minute limit. And if you could speak for 2 whole minutes, that would, of course, be perfect. Now, as you can see on the screen, we have our question here. I will zoom on that for you to be able to see clearly. I think you can see it right now. Hopefully. Oops, what did I do? All right, yeah, it comes back. Now you will have your 1 minute of preparation time, and then you can raise your hand and I will give you permission to speak for 2 whole minutes, and I will time you for all of your answers. So your 1 minute preparation time starts now. All right, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Who wants to start speaking first? So the question asks us to describe an interesting historical building. And while describing that building, we need to say where it is, what its significance is, why should we preserve it, and how we feel about the building. And you don't have to answer each question one by one in that same order. You can just describe a historical building that you like or is interesting to you without actually trying to answer each and every question, because while you're describing, you will actually answer these questions without even realizing it. All right. Who wants to go first? No one is that eager to go first, I think. So I will show you an example answer. Maybe then you'll be more encouraged to speak. I hope so. So our example answer for this question is, as goes, the building I want to talk about is Edinburgh Castle in the capital city of Scotland. I went there on holiday about 5 years ago, and I really enjoyed my visit. I can't remember the specific details, but it was many hundreds of years old, which really impressed me. In fact, it might have been almost 1,000 years old. If you go to Edinburgh, you can see the castle from all around the city because it sits on top of a hill with really steep sides, so it stands out. It's an important part of the cultural heritage of Scottish history because that's where the kings and queens of Scotland lived, and so it's been at the center of the city of the country's past, as well as its skirmishes with England. Edinburgh Castle is still important today, both as a historic landmark and also as a military base. That's right, the castle is still being used by the Scottish military after all these years. I feel that there is no question that the government will continue to support its maintenance and that the castle will play an important role for years to come. I really enjoyed my visit to Edinburgh Castle, and I would recommend it to anyone visiting the UK. Edinburgh is a great city, and the castle can hold your attention for hours. Not only is it fun, but you will also learn lots of interesting stuff too. So, as you can see, we did not answer each question one by one in different paragraphs, but what we do instead is kind of describe that experience that we have with the castle. Abby, I see you're leaving. Have a good day. You don't have to say sorry. All right, who wants to speak, answer this question? And I want to again remind you, I'm giving you scores in my little notebook, and I will share my feedback to you at the end of this class. So I think this is a really, really good practice. Yes, Jafal, go ahead. Thank you.
Ma'am, the building about which I want to tell you is Red Fort. It is in capital of India, New Delhi. It's a very good place to visit. I visited some 5 years ago there with my family on a tour, and it is quite a historical place for Indian perspective. It is a place where Mughal emperor used to live for generations, and the the emperor and their wives used to live there, and the place is a quite good one, and it's covered by huge walls from all over, and it is very much important from historical point of view. It reminds us of that very period, which has an important place in Indian history. So in modern times, it is important for Indian heritage. It is now being used for Prime Minister address on our Independence Day, and a tricolor is our national flag is always hoisting on the front of the Red Fort, and it's a It's a place where millions of tourists visit every year. It is now well maintained and
All right. That was really good. That was 1 minute 45 seconds. If you're curious, really good answer. Thank you. Yes, Miriam, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to talk about the Great Pyramid of Giza that is in Egypt. It is actually located in the Giza near the city of Cairo, and it is built over uh, 4,500 years ago. And it is really wonderful, and it is a mystery how they built it because the rocks that they used are very heavy, and they didn't use any modern equipment. So I don't know how they built it. It is actually a mystery that the scientists are trying to solve. I actually saw it last vacation when I went to Cairo. I saw it from a distance. I didn't get near to it, but when I saw it, I knew it was huge, and it is very wonderful.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that's it, right? I didn't stop you. So that was around 1 minute. So it was 56 seconds. But we needed to be at least 1 minute and 1.5 minutes. So we'll try to add more detail to it. So that's why I kind of told you guys to not to worry about answering these questions, but rather describe something to me, an experience to me. So you said you visited that place. Can you tell me more about what you did and how you felt when you visited that place?
Well, it was really hot. It was a hot day, and I visited in the morning. It was like I said, it was huge, and it felt like I was living in the past. It was really wonderful, and I also rided some camels, and it was really awesome. And some fact that I knew about it that it is the Giza pyramids are oriented to face the four directions, north, south, east, west, and I don't know how they did that.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm sure that some of these problems occur because you cannot see the minute time limit on the screen because I can, but you cannot. You don't know maybe how long you're speaking to for. But I really advise you to all of you, not just you, to time yourself to 2 minutes while explaining something, while describing something. And when you practice that for a lot of times, you will kind of feel when that 1.5 minute time limit ends and that 2 minute time limit ends. So because you won't be able to see how long you're speaking for in the exam too, I really advise you to try practicing that how long you can speak when you speak for 2 minutes. Because, again, as I've said, they will not be showing you the time. So you will have to understand when you spoke for 1.5 minutes at least. Because if you cannot speak for more than 1.5 minutes, they will not give you such a good score, basically. All right, go ahead, Dave.
Okay, I would like to talk about Tinapa. Tinapa is located in Cross River State in southeastern Nigeria. Tinapa houses the Obunike Cave. This Obunike Cave has an emotional attachment to the Biafran War that took place in Nigeria in the year 1950. In the Obunike Cave, it shows where the soldiers were kept, where the soldiers stayed and communicated to others on the field. It shows where the popular General Ojukwu was staying and giving orders on how to win the war. Also, in this Obunike cave, local manufacturing of bombs and various ammunitions was done here. You could imagine where a group of civilians who had just little military experience were able to manufacture weapons and ammunitions to use and fight their oppressors. Also, in this Obunike cave, it shows where the bomb that first set off the war was located. Now, what do I think is significant about this Obunike cave? When you enter this Obunike cave, you come to appreciate the service of our fallen heroes, those people that fought for your rights, those people that ensured that they put their lives on the line so that you will be able to speak today. And then after coming out from this Obunike cave, it gives you this feeling that humanity still exists. Someone fought for your right. Today you're able to move. Today you're able to have freedom of speech. Today you're able to even oppose or criticize the government when you feel that their actions are not according to what you believe. Because of this, my hope in humanity is rekindled. My strength is reinforced. I'm able to stand for my rights. I speak for what I want and I will never back down. This is one thing that visiting the Tinapa and seeing the Obunike cave in southeastern Nigeria have done to me. And I'm so happy I visited. I hope everyone will visit there very soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was actually a really, really good answer because it was detailed enough. You've used a lot of different vocabulary, such as rekindled, which I was amazed at. And you also talked for like 2 whole minutes. That was really good too. The only thing that I want to say to all of you to remind you is that you shouldn't actually use you while you're speaking because we're not, yes, we're speaking in a daily conversation, like something like that while we're in the speaking exam, but we're not actually friends with the examiner, right? So we want to kind of put that boundary of respect with ourselves and the examiner. So what we can do instead, not to use, instead of using you, we can say one can see or one can feel like that, or I felt that. You can say stuff like that, but I would advise you not to use you. That wouldn't decrease your points dramatically. That would just help you with your overall um, image, basically, because we're having like a student examiner relationship with the examiner. Other than that, I think that was a really, really good answer. Yes, Bhagya, go ahead.
I would like to describe the ancient building Charminar, which is located in Hyderabad, which is usually on the west side of the Musi River. It is called as Charminar as it is having four pillars, and it was built by Qutub Shah, uh, which was built because he want to shift his capital from Golconda to Hyderabad. It was the most significant was it was having a mosque 425 years back, and the most important and the beautiful attractive was Eid was usually celebrated near to that place, and the markets that are around the Charminar was so eye catchy, and we would like to stay there for more and more hours, and we have a lot of food to have. And the most beautiful thing was the bangles they will sell near the Charminar. There will be different kinds of bangles, and it's the very beautiful place to go along with family and friends. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. That was more or less 1.5 minutes. But you've used some really good vocabulary like eye catching, which sounded really natural and it's really important in IELTS speaking. Really, really good. Yes, Farzine, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. As every country has some history
I
and
think,
also
sorry,
historical
I'm sorry.
buildings. Yes, ma'am.
Uh, Someone else has their microphone on. I don't know who. I think, yes, I think it's okay now.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, can you start from the beginning? I could understand.
No, ma'am. I can't start.
Sorry, I'm really sorry.
No, ma'am. I'll start. I would like to tell about Faisal Mosque, which is most important and very beautiful historical building in my country, because it is situated in the footsteps of Margla Hills in capital of Islamabad. Capital of Pakistan. Islamabad, and it was located in I think 1896 when Shah Faisal of Saudi Arabia visited, and he liked the idea of to construct to construct this mosque and also bear these expenditures, and this building was architect by a Turkish architect, and it is not only a place of worship, as if we talk about its significance, we also performed our very social mean we take part in very social welfares activities in there, and uh, everyone when visiting Islamabad, the site of the Faisal Mosque is something that should not be missed, and we preserve it because it's our historical historical building, and also related to our religious, and if we talk about its architect, it's very modern and very unique that I think inspire everyone. That's all, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That was close to 2 minutes. Really good. You've used some different grammatical structures too, like relative clauses. That was really good. Yes, Fairy, go ahead.
Actually, Miss, I didn't maintain anything, but I just try it myself because I'm cooking it side by side.
All right, sure, go ahead.
Okay, okay. I would like to describe one of the ancient building, or you can say the mosque building. It's Shahi Kila, which is located in the Lahore, Pakistan. It is very famous, and we are very honored to have this building as our heritage, because it has also 8 gate, I think so, and it's constructed by the Mughal empires, I think so, Shah Jahan, King Shah Jahan, as I remembered. So it is constructed on a huge, you can say that it's a huge construction by them, by Mughal empires, and there's a big mosque, a Badshahi mosque, which is near to that Shahi Kila, and it's very it's I think so, it's a big mosque, and people come to pray over there to pray, offer namaz. And I vividly remembered when I last visit, I was too young. I was a child at that time, but there's a big well in that killa, and we just see that killa, we just see that well, and we just astonished to see that, because we are very afraid for that killa, because there's a huge ancient, you can say that, very weird walls over there. So we are little bit, you can say that, afraid of that. But as we are very young, as we were very young, so and we you it's a part of our heritage. So I love that place very much, and it's you can say that, big part of our uh, ancient buildings as, as well.
All right, all right, thank you so much. That was exactly 2 minutes, 2 seconds, but it's all right. Really good. Even you've used some good grammatical vocabulary structures too. Does anyone else want to try? Did all of you answer? I think yes. All right, let's move on to the third section. And I must say, you all did really well in this part. So, the part 3 of IELTS speaking exam is deep discussion part. So in this part, the examiner will ask you some questions, again, on your opinions, but they will be more like general questions, more maybe questions that you might have to think of. And in this part, you will need to speak for 40 seconds for each question. And again, you need to give details and not repeat the question, basically. So, our first question is: do you think it's good to preserve old buildings? So, in my opinion, I think those monuments and landmarks should be maintained with care. They should be preserved because they represent our culture and heritage, and they're really important um, to give the next generations something from our time. And also, I think the people living in the past would think the same, so they could maybe tell their stories with those buildings. Who wants to answer this question apart from me? I wouldn't give myself an 8, even an 8, like even 8.5 or 9. But we're doing our best, so I hope you join this discussion too. Anyone? Or you can answer the second question too. So, how have buildings changed in the past few years? So, for example, where I live, the buildings have become more and more modern as the days pass. They start to be so much higher, and there are a lot of apartments, really big malls. They don't reflect to the eye like aesthetically, they just please the maybe contractors, those who gain money from them, but they don't look really aesthetic, in my opinion. What about you guys? What about your thoughts? You didn't like these questions, I think? Is that it? Yes, Dave, go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, I think we should preserve our buildings. One, some buildings are monuments. They help you trace back your heritage. They help you to see where you come from and then look forward to today and see where you are. And it helps you not to lose what was tried to be imbued in you from your parents. Also, these monumental buildings help to further depict the importance of culture. The culture of a place is important for the way they live in that place. If you lose your culture, the crime rate will probably increase because you lose what you stand for and then you don't fight what you stand for. And also, these buildings, example, the Tinapa I talked about, it helps to reinforce your belief in humanity. As I've said before, someone fought for you, fought for your rights. So why let someone stampede on your rights today? Because of that building, today and forever, I will continue fighting for my rights. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, Farzin, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I think preservation of old buildings is very important because these are the witnesses of our culture, history, and these buildings also connect to our past. And also, if we don't have or we don't preserve our old buildings, we can't transfer of our history to our next generation, and we don't have any witness. So uh, preservation of old buildings is very important.
All right, thank you
Uh,
so much.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, Bhagya.
As well. In my opinion, buildings have been the construction of their style was also being changed. Before, when I was so little, when I was in my childhood, there used to be a single independent homes which was surrounded by greeneries, and there was a lot of place where kids can play. We can hang out together. But nowadays, the buildings were built in such a small place and was there are so many stories like three-stored house, six-stored house, eight-stored house, and there was a little place to have fun and to have some gatherings.
Mhm.
uh,
Thank you so much. I
thank
completely
you.
agree, by the way. There are a lot of buildings that have like 20, 30 story high uh, stuff like it's I don't know. I don't like them very much. Yes, Chapal, go ahead.
Yes, of course, we must preserve our old buildings as these are monuments for us and very important from the cultural heritage point of view and the historical point of view. It is our duty to maintain them and transfer it to our next generation so that we inculcate the quality of preserving that very monuments which tell us about the various eras of history from years. And like I explained in my earlier question about Red Fort, it is a symbol of Indian freedom fights against British. So we must maintain them and keep them clean and preserved for the next generation.
All right, thank you
Thanks.
so much. Really good. Yes, Barry, go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. Should I give you one question number one answer or two?
You can do both. Either you can do either.
Okay. The first question is, do you think it is good to preserve older building? Okay. In my perspective, I reckon it's essential because it's a heritage or it's a culture. You can say that it's add to our buildings. Old buildings can be added to our culture, or in we can deliver it to the young generation, and we can pass out by the maintenance of course, by the maintenance of these buildings, we can pass out these buildings as a heritage to our next generation. So it's very important. It's, I reckon it's essential for the next generation's sake. And of course, we have to maintain for the living and for the public, as a public place or as a public amusement, or you can use it for your country benefits too. So it's in my point of view, it's very important to preserve them
Mhm.
accordingly, according to the needs, you can say that.
All right, thank you.
Should I
Any
go for the
answers to
next one?
one? Well, however you wish.
Okay. How have building changed in the past few years? Okay. uh, I think so. When I was child, there was less building in the country and in my area too. As I grown up now, and I'm living still in this area, so I just see that there is a lot of triple story, four story building maintained now. As in the past, we have this one story house only, but it's a demand and population, you can say that now it's become the demand for the population growth. Due to the population growth, it's become people are constructing triple and fourth story as well, and there is no park outside the home. When when I was child, I see park on every out of the every home, you can say that out of the every home. But still, but now I just see that there is no park outside the home, and there's only a car park area, and
Mhm.
shops are constructed, and too much noises are now as compared to the last decade, or you can say last few decades. But
All right.
still, okay.
Thank you so much. I'm
So
sorry I had to stop
okay,
you.
okay, okay.
And the examiner might also stop any one of you while you're speaking because they have a time limit, and they will have to stop you if you're talking for maybe
Okay, in the last, ma'am, I want to ask one question in the last.
all right. At the end of the class, we can talk about our questions. Is that all right?
Okay, okay,
All
okay.
right. Thank you. Um, the class is almost over, anyways. We have just one more thing to do, and that is let's talk about the band descriptors. I hope you can see it on the screen. I know it's kind of small, but I will explain to you your band scores and why you're getting those scores. So basically, this is the public version of IELTS Speaking Band Descriptors. IELTS publishes this, so you can just Google it, say like Speaking Band Descriptors, and you will get this as a result. So they test you on 4 different criteria. The first one is fluency and coherence. The second one is lexical resource. The third one is grammatical range and accuracy. And the last one is pronunciation. So they don't, for example, test your accent in any way. You can have your own accent. We all have our own accents. And they don't test you on that. They don't grade you on that. They look at these 4 criteria. And I think for the most part, all of you kind of had some problems with fluency and coherence. So basically, some of you, most of you, repeated the question, and they had a lot of pauses while speaking, so much us and and stuff like that. They kind of affect your score in terms of fluency and coherence. As you can see, for example, get a band six on fluency and coherence, you need to be speaking at length, though you may lose coherence at times due to occasional repetition, self-correction, or hesitation, which I think most of you did. And for band 7, for example, we need to speak at length without noticeable effort or loss of coherence. So that kind of decided your band score overall, the differences between these 2 criteria. And for lexical resource, I would say some of you have done really good job. Some of you have used really different words, vocabulary that really stands out. For example, to get a band 6, we need to have a wide enough vocabulary to discuss at length. I think all of you had that. And you need to make meaning clear in spite of inappropriateness. So basically, most of you, all of you, I think, had enough knowledge of vocabulary to be able to speak for a lengthy period of time and give different information on different topics, basically. But to get a 7, you need to use vocabulary resource flexibly to discuss a variety of topics, use some less common and idiomatic vocabulary. I think this one, using the idiomatic vocabulary, was a problem for some of you. You could not, even if you knew some of them, you could not include them in your answers. That's why you got around like a 6.5 rather than a 7. And for grammatical range and accuracy, to get a band 6, we need to use a mix of simple and complex structures, but with limited flexibility. Also, we may make frequent mistakes, which is okay, with complex structures, though these rarely cause comprehension problems. And I think this was also the case for most of you. Even though there were some grammatical mistakes, generally, I could understand every single point you're making, which resulted in you getting at least a band 6. But to get a band 7, we needed to use a range of complex structures with some flexibility, frequently produces error-free sentences, though some grammatical mistakes persist. So I think this was the case for some of you as well. And I will give you your band scores in a minute. And lastly, we get our points from pronunciation. I think most of you done really well in this part. So I think most of you would get a band 6 or 7 from pronunciation too. So to get a 7, you need to show all the positive features of a band 6 and some, but not all of the positive features of a band 8. So the positive features for band 8 is using a wide range of pronunciation features, sustains flexible use of features with only occasional lapses, and is easy to understand throughout. Accent has minimal effect on intelligibility. Sorry. All right. Now, who wants to learn their score? So the first one, I think, Fairy, you talked the first one. You answered the first question first. So I will give your score right now. So you got like various different band scores from me, like 7, 6, 6.5, 7 again. So I would say you would get around like 6.5, or if you're really focused, you could get 7, and even 7.5 maybe if you use different vocabulary, different lexical resources, different idiomatic vocabulary. Your problem overall, I think, uh, the reason why you couldn't get like an 8 was that you had some hesitations. You uh, kind of repeated yourself a few times, and you kind of not paraphrase the question that often. That got you that uh, level. That got you to that level. Yes, you can speak. You can ask a question too. I know you had a
Okay,
question.
ma'am, I just want to ask you. I have just given my IELTS exam, but I didn't receive result as I expect, and I was astonished to see the marks which I when I got my marks, it was 5.5,
Oh,
and
in
yes,
speaking.
it yeah, in his speaking it was 5.5, and I was astonished because in the class I just have joined a center a couple of days before. So in the class I always got above 6.5 in the class, in any speech, in discussion, and every part of the speaking part I got above the 7, above the 6, 6.5, sorry. So they stopped me again and again in every part of the modules. Mean in the part 1 she didn't stop me at all, but in the part 2, means in the part 2, which is 2 minute discussion, which was 2 minute discussion, she stopped me again. And after in a discussion point of view, she stopped me 3 or 4 times, even though I didn't speak one or two sentence. Means I just speak one my idea or two idea. Basically I just spoke one idea or two idea, so she just stopped me again and again. So I don't understand what's happened to me, and I expect more than 6.5 in my exams. And
Mm-hmm.
as I was fluent, means I didn't stop anywhere, and I was confident at that time, and I just maintained my eye contact with her. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised to have this result. I don't know what to do, ma'am. You tell me the strategy, and I don't want to lose now. Next time I'm gonna do, means I wanna attempt again and in November. So
Mm-hmm.
what should I do?
You
What
will.
will be the,
Mhm.
do you
You will
think
take the
it
exam
is
in
fair
November.
marks for me? It was fair
Uh,
mark for me.
I mean, of course, I wasn't there, so I cannot tell you like the- something that definite. But in our classes, I remember you, of course, and I'm giving you these points. So I'm kind of surprised that you got a 5.5, and the examiner stopping you if it's like a few times, it shouldn't affect your score at all, because you cannot see the time limit, and they're allowed to stop you. It
Even
shouldn't
though
affect.
she stopped me in discussion, in discussion part, she didn't properly listening to my point of view. So I didn't understand these things in IELTS speaking part. I was very confident to get at least 7.
Mhm. I mean, even if not a 7, I would again say you would get a 6.5. I remember your answers too. Um, I don't know, maybe something went wrong. Maybe you made some really simple mistakes that affected your score that much. Um, but other than that, uh, I cannot say more than just like you should have gotten at least a 6.5. I think if you talked like you did in this class or in our previous classes. So what you can do is I think you can add more idiomatic vocabulary to your answers. That would
Yes.
guarantee a 7. Maybe
Ma'am,
that
I
was
was not speaking since my I have given my result. Even though with the 6 month in the 6 months I was continuously speaking in the class. But after giving my exams, I'm just speaking to you in the classes 2 or 3 days. After 2 or 3 days, or most of your classes have missed by me because of my cooking as well. As being a mother, I have to maintain all these things. So that's why I just speak now to you after a month. You can say that. You can listen to me now.
Yeah.
I don't think so. My speaking is so nice or so advanced, but it doesn't. You can say it doesn't. Uh, it doesn't like 5.5.
I wouldn't yeah, I wouldn't give you a 5.5 definitely. Maybe the topics were too hard. But let's move on now. And if you have any other questions, we can speak at the end of the class again. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I didn't
Okay.
want to
Okay.
interrupt.
Okay.
All
Thank you,
right.
ma'am.
Sure, no worries. So who else is here? Who else talked in here? Dave, you're here. Dave, I think you were uh, really, really good today. I gave you like 7.5 and 2 8s actually, because you had a really good, understandable language. Your pronunciation was really good. You talked in a really calm manner, so that helped you with your fluency and coherence. You also stayed on the topic all the time, and you accomplished everything that the examiner asks for. What didn't get you like an 8.5 or 9 was that there was some like small from time to time, but still, and some pauses from time to time. But still, you were able to give me some really good vocabulary, and I would say you would get like 7.5 or 8. Sometimes you lost that fluency, sometimes you made some grammatical errors, some basic repetitions, but other than that, I think that was really, really good. If you have any questions, we can speak. If not, I'll move on to Bhagya. All right. Yes, sure, no worries. So Bhagya, I would say you would get something like a 6 or a 6.5 as a result. As your result, sorry. I'm looking at my notes, I'm sorry. Um, that's because I think, again, the problem was with the fluency. You kind of tended to pause a few times, more than a few times while speaking, and you kind of were not able to give me that different structures, different vocabularies. So, but overall, your pronunciation was really good. I could understand everything that you said, uh, most of the things that you said, but still, there was some problems with fluency and about the grammar and vocabulary, basically. If you have any questions, you can ask them. You can use the chat box or unmute yourself. If not, I will move on to the next person, who is Japal. All right.
Ma'am,
So
how can I improve?
how you can improve? So basically, what you can do is you can practice speaking with others or by yourself. You can record yourself speaking and try to find those mistakes, those things that you would want to do better in by yourself, which would help you a lot, because when we realize our mistakes by ourselves and we correct them, it actually sticks with us. So we can talk better next time. So you can use also other videos that we've uploaded on YouTube. And you can also use the library materials in Clasital as well. What you can do while watching those is you can take notes of those different vocabularies, those idioms, for example, or different ways of saying things, and that can help you with your lexical resource. And you can also try to, again, as I said, I'm repeating myself, but still, you can try to find those small mistakes that you're making, like, for example, grammatical mistakes. For example, if you say he are instead of he is, uh, changing that, correcting that would also affect your score a lot. And try to speak more fluently. By that, I mean, of course, we think while we're speaking, it's all right. I also think and say while I'm speaking, but try to give like more natural fillers there. So, for example, instead of stopping saying for a long time, you can say, well, I've never thought about that, or well, let me think about that for a second. So giving those natural responses also affect your fluency and coherence, actually. You could try those, and of course practicing is always the best while practicing speaking, while studying for speaking, basically. All right, so Japal, you got some very different notes from me, like scores from me. So you started with a 6.5, and that got to a 6, 5.5, again 6.5. So I would say around 6 or 6.5, but maybe 6 is safer. What the problem was that, of course, you were understanding the questions, and you could give relevant responses. But there was again some problem with your fluency. You tended to pause a lot while speaking, and again, I think same things. There were not enough different vocabularies, words, different grammatical structures. You've used some of them from time to time, but overall, they did not feel enough to get a 7, for example. Your pronunciation was fine. I could understand most of the things that you're saying, but still, I think fluency and vocabulary would require more attention, I must say. If you guys have any questions, I can answer all of them. If not, I'll move on to Depti. Depti. I don't know if I'm saying your word correctly. All right. Let me just reject a few people because the class has already ended. So Depti, I think you would get again a 6 or a 6.5. I gave you those two scores for your answers. Again, the same thing. You had some pauses while speaking that affected your fluency score, but you could understand the questions and you gave relevant, detailed responses. They were fine. I think the problem was more with, again, like stopping, pausing too much, with using different vocabularies. All of you tended to repeat yourselves from time to time. And I think your pronunciation actually, yes, was all right. It was good. I could understand the words that you're saying, but overall, I think like that band 7 criteria were not met that much. But I think all of you have used like active passive structures. Maybe you could all, I'm telling this to all of you, maybe you could try using different grammatical structures and different idiomatic vocabulary, such as I cannot think of anything right now, but maybe you could use, let's say, if clauses in your answers, or unless, or non-clauses, or relative clauses, which would help you with your grammatical range. But of course, we have to do those fluently. So maybe writing down what you want to use in your next practice, in your next speaking, and trying to reading them while practicing by yourself would help you with your speaking, basically. So when you try to use them on your own time, you will kind of make a habit of it, and you will also use them in your speaking without actually thinking about them. So this will come in practice. So an advice to all of you, I would take notes of the things that I want to use in my next speaking session, and I would try practicing them. I would practice them repeatedly for a week, and then you will see that you kind of use them without even thinking about them, which actually happens as you're doing right now, basically. Do you have any questions for me? Any of you? If not, don't go anywhere. I have one more thing to add. So I'm sending you a survey link right now. I would be really glad if you could fill it out. My name is Gizem. I will write it in the chat box too. And the survey will ask you that. I want to say that we take all of those survey results very very seriously. Um, yeah, so I would be really happy if you could give me feedback on that. Farzine, I'm so sorry, I didn't see you. I thought you left. So Farzine, let's see. Uh, Again, you started with a 5.5 and then got a 6, 6.5. I would say a 6. You would get a 6. And the problem, again, was the same. I could understand the words that you're saying, but you lost points in fluency and coherence, basically. I remember you had like a lot of pauses, and you did not use different vocabularies that much. You tended to repeat the question, and you did not kind of use those different grammatical structures too. That was the reason. Um, yeah, uh, I think that's it. Do you have any questions? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I just forget that how what to speak. I forget words. So how can I
Mhm.
improve?
So you cannot come up with different words. I think that's a really common problem, I would say. And I also feel like you're getting excited. That affects your score too a lot. Not necessarily because you're excited you get low points. It's not like that. But because you're excited, you forget what to say. You cannot remember those words. I think the problem for this reason is not forgetting the words. I think it's getting too excited. So, what I would do, I would try to calm myself. I would try to speak to different people actually, and try to be more confident and try to be more relaxed, because you will realize that when you're more relaxed and comfortable and more confident in yourself, you will be able to remember those words. But also, apart from that, you can practice doing the same thing. So you can take a notebook, you can write down the words that you want to use in different topics, because as you know, we're covering different topics every speaking session. You can take notes of those words that you want to use, and you can try to use them while practicing, which will again stick with you, which will kind of stay with you while you're speaking. That can really help you. And also try to always speak in English with the people that know English, of course. But if someone knows English, basically, talk to them in English, which will help you with your confidence too and your vocabulary a lot. I think that those would help
Thank
you.
you, ma'am.
But first,
Thank you so
getting
much,
excited,
ma'am.
you need to solve that first.
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
Okay,
but
thank you so much.
sure, no
Yes,
worries.
ma'am.
And for those of you who have this problem, I want to say that I had the same problem as well. Me and my best friend, I think 9 years ago, when I was at uni, we tried to speak in English. We said, yes, let's speak in English right now because we wanted to improve our speaking. We said, yes, let's speak in English. And we would stop speaking because we were too excited and we didn't know what to say, basically. And we didn't know which words to use. So we stopped speaking. So, but as we tried that and as we insisted on only speaking in English, we had to talk to each other at some point. So we got used to speaking in English. That's how I actually improved my speaking. So maybe you can do that too,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you
Thank you
you
so
will
much.
get results. Don't worry, it's all right.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right.
And ma'am,
So
uh, last time you rejected me. I just want to join the class before 10 minutes to start the class, but I couldn't. Why?
you couldn't get in.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, maybe it was full. I don't remember. I don't recall. But yeah, being here like maybe 15 minutes before the class starts would be the safe way to go, because as soon as I start the class, I get like requests to join, and sometimes it is filled within like minutes. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. No, no, it's
All right.
okay.
All right. I'm sorry. But maybe you can join. Sorry, not join. You can watch the videos on YouTube too. All right.
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
All right. I'm
okay, ma'am.
sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Did you have anything else to say?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. So,
Yes, ma'am. One thing.
right.
Your YouTube channel name. I couldn't
Uh,
find. I
did
remember.
you type Clasital on YouTube? Did it not come up?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it should. I think it's that one, but let me check really quickly. Um, yes, when you type Clasital on YouTube, it comes up.
Okay, ma'am. Okay,
All right.
it's all right. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Thank you so much.
Sure, no worries. So I hope you filled out the survey, and